Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, whatever time it may be that you're watching this video. My name is Dustin Leasure. I am an MCT, a Microsoft Certified Trainer. I have my Master Microsoft Office Specialist certification in the 2003, the 2007, the 2010, and the 2013 versions of Microsoft Office. I've been training on Microsoft Project and the associated Microsoft Office applications since the 2000 version of Microsoft Office. And I want to spend a little bit of time today talking about the new reporting engine inside of Project 2013. It's been rebuilt from the ground up. It's extremely powerful now. If you've used a Microsoft Project in previous versions, the reporting arm of Microsoft Project was not very strong. However, now inside of Microsoft Project, we have the ability to create some very dynamic, very professional looking reports, and even more importantly, we can share those very quickly to the other Microsoft Office applications and have a lot of control over those reports. So without further ado, let me get out of my PowerPoint presentation here. And let me jump over to Microsoft Project. So here's a sample project plan file that I've put together that I'll use as an example. And this particular project, it looks like we are completed with through about activity 16. So I can tell by my information column there with all my check marks that I've got those set as complete. And it looks like there's a couple of additional phases of the project that need to be done yet. So in the project management world, we probably all know that reporting is an extremely important element to the project management lifecycle process. And using Microsoft Project as a tool for that, as I mentioned a second ago, hasn't always been the best tool to use when we wanted to put together some real meaningful reports based on our project information. However, we found that a lot of project managers prefer to use Microsoft Project, so it only makes sense that we use the same tool to update our project and also to report on our project rather than having to use different applications to do that. So here it is, time for me to start generating reports for all of the different people, the stakeholders of my project, and give them some type of a visual idea of where my project is currently at. So you'll notice that on the Report tab on the ribbon at the top, now in the as it relates to the history of reports inside of Microsoft Project, in the 2000 and the 2003 versions of Microsoft Project, we really only had the ability to create what I like to call the old typewriter reports. You would generate a report and it literally looked like it was typed out on a typewriter. You could print it to a piece of paper in a hard copy, and that was really about all you could do with those old reports. In 2007 and 2010, it got a little bit better. Microsoft introduced what were called visual reports that gave us the ability to push our data from Microsoft Project down into Excel and to be able to create a pivot table and ultimately a pivot chart from that pivot table if we wanted to do that. Now, the only problem with that was that if our project manager wasn't well versed in Excel and didn't really know how to create a pivot table in Excel or didn't feel comfortable with that process, then it kind of took that ability away from the project manager to really generate a meaningful report. Now in 2013, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the reporting engine has been completely scrapped and rebuilt from the ground up, and we now have the ability to generate really powerful professional looking reports here inside of the Microsoft Project environment. Then when we choose to take them to another application, we can do that. So I'd like to start here by noticing or pointing out that on the Report tab, there's a group here called View Reports, and the very first button on the left says New Report. Now when I click on that, you'll notice that it gives me 4 basic templates for types of reports that I can create, and I'm going to take you through that process here in a little bit. So I can create a blank report, I can create a report, a chart-based report, a table-based report, and then the example I'm going to use is you can create a comparison report that allows you to take 2 pieces of data and kind of compare that data back and forth. But Microsoft also built in a ton of really good, powerful reports for us to use. So for example, if I go to my Dashboards button, say I just wanted to see a quick project overview of how the project was running. I select Project Overview, and it very quickly and nicely generates a report here that has a nice title, shows me some dates, percent complete. I've got a chart here on the right that shows me some percent complete information, and it looks like I've got some late tasks down in the bottom right that show me some things that I might want to pay attention to as a project manager. If I go right back over to my Report tab and click on Dashboards again, there's about 4 or 5 different types of reports here. There is a burn down report now that kind of shows us the way that the project should be coming to an end. If I go back over to Dashboards, I've got maybe a cost overview that shows me a lot of really nice charts there on the right, progress versus cost, cost status. I've got a cost status table down at the bottom, and I've got a couple of boxes here that show me some overall cost, remaining cost, and percent complete. So totally focusing on the cost of the report. If I go back over to my dashboards, maybe my upcoming tasks, those things that are upcoming. Doesn't look like my project has a lot going on there. And then finally, the work overview report. So this kind of takes all those other reports, puts them together. So I've got my burn down chart. It looks like I've got my work stats chart here underneath that. 89% work complete. I've got 64 hours, 502 actual hours of work. So I've got an overview there. And then at the bottom, I've got remaining availability for my resources. And I've got some nice resource stats information there at the bottom as well. So again, those built-in reports underneath dashboards really show us a lot of good information that we don't have to do anything other than just simply select the type of dashboard we would like to create. Now for the remaining options to the right for resources, if I just wanted to kind of break down some elements of those dashboards, maybe I wanted to see a resource overview, and that'll give me information on how I'm using resources within my project, stats, work status, resource status down at the bottom. So some really powerful reports for resources. If I go over to costs, maybe I want to see an earned value report. So showing my EAC, estimate at completion, actual cost to work and BCWP. So all these different earned value calculations that we don't want to manually create. Not only will Project calculate them for us, but they also now have nice charts to see that information. So if I go back to my Report tab again, in progress, so critical, late, or milestone reports. And then one thing that I think is really nice that Microsoft added here was this Getting Started category. If you notice, there's a Getting Started with Project. You click on it, and it's kind of a little tutorial of how you can use this new charting engine. You click Start here and organize tasks, create reports, share with your team. So it takes you through the 3 basic tasks that we go through to generate these reports and share them. And if I go back over to my Report tab, I have custom reports that I could generate and anything that is a recent report that I've just recently created. So again, a lot of really good stuff here. And there's a lot of stuff that we may find that maybe we don't even need to build a custom report. Maybe just one of those built-in dashboards or one of those built-in reports is going to be good enough for us. However, I'd like to take you through the process of actually working with some of these reports. Now, keep in mind, let's say, for example, I went back over and I just do my project overview report. Now, this is not a canned report, meaning that this isn't just what I get. So for example, notice this little milestones due table here. Notice I can always click on the elements of the report and I get a field list here. So you don't always have to create from scratch. Maybe you just simply built in a custom report or dashboard and you make it your own. Maybe I go over here to my percent complete chart, and maybe I want to roll this up or roll this down a little bit. So I select level 2 and it rolls out to show me all activities. Maybe that's a little bit too much information, so I go back up to level 1. So again, these built-in reports, it's not something that you just kind of have to take and say, okay, this is what I've got, and this is the only thing I'm going to be able to do with it. You have the ability to make these your own. So if I go down to level 2 here and roll that table out, it looks like I've actually got it already rolled out as far as I can. So you can make these your own. Maybe you don't like the color of the 91% complete. Who knows? Maybe I go over to my design tab and maybe I want to make this a different table style or something. Who knows? So all those built-in reports are nice, but you have the ability then, once they've been created, for you to go in and make changes to them and really own those tables or those reports and make them exactly what you would like for them to be for your reports. So I'm going to go back over to my report tab here, and I'm going to generate a new report. Again, I'm going to use this quick comparison report as an example, and I'll call this actual versus remaining work. So that's the data that I will use, and I have to actually name this appropriately. I click OK, and it starts off with just kind of this generic environment for me here. It gives me a nice little title at the top based on the way I named the report, and it just gives me these basic charts on each side. Now, these charts are already plugged into the data in this project plan file. So you'll notice there's really two different places where I can modify these charts. I've got these small little buttons here in the upper right-hand corner of the left-hand chart while it's selected. The right-hand chart, if I click on its border, I get those same buttons. So starting here on the left-hand side, not only can I use these three buttons to affect the chart, but I also have my field list on the right-hand side. Microsoft Project builds an Olap Cube, so it gives us the ability to really slice and dice our data in a lot of different ways so that we can really generate reports that give us the ability to see exactly the information we want to see. So what I'm going to do is I'll start here with this small plus button, and this just gives me the ability to kind of affect what the chart looks like. I want to add or take away chart elements. So maybe I want to add a chart title here. Who knows? Maybe I want to add a data label. And my data labels don't look too good, but hopefully they'll be able to we'll be able to figure those out a little bit later. The second button down is my chart styles. So I scroll down and I find a nice style that I like. I kind of tend to like these the styles with the black background. It makes my data stand out a little bit better, but that's really just a personal preference. So I can go through and find all the information I want, and then this last button, my filter option, gives me the ability to filter out the data I'm going to see inside of the chart. So not as much the aesthetic pleasure of looking at the chart, but what's the actual data that I want to chart on. So since this is my actual versus my remaining work chart, and on the left I'll put actual, so notice in my series up at the top I can clear out select all and just go with actual. I want all of my phases down at the bottom, so I'll click apply, and it modifies my chart the way I want it to. So pretty easy. Notice that the title has modified itself to match exactly the information that I'm creating. And let's modify the second one here on the right. And so I'll just kind of go through and do the same thing. Give it a chart title. Give it some data labels. Maybe I'll select the same style. And maybe I'll slice and dice here so that now I'm only seeing remaining work on the right-hand side for all of my different phases. So there you go. There are your two charts. Actual work, remaining work, fairly quick. Now to kind of make this look nice, I'll just maybe do a little bit of formatting here at the top. Now one thing you'll notice that each one of these elements on my report, as I select them, you're going to notice that I get different contextual tabs on the ribbon. So the ribbon's going to modify to give us the tabs that we need. I click on a chart, I've got my chart tools, design, and format tabs. I click on the text box for the title, I just simply have a format tab underneath drawing tools. So I'll maybe give this a little bit of a style, who knows, and maybe I'll change the text inside of it, give it some word art, which doesn't always tend to be the most professional way to format your reports, but just to kind of show you the options that we have here, make it a little bit bigger, and maybe I'll size it up a little bit. So now that I've got my two charts here, I've decided, you know, people like charts, but they also like raw data. So I'm just going to kind of move these over to the side. I'm going to kind of see if I can connect them so make it look like visually these are kind of part of that title there. And maybe have a little bit of extra space up at the top, or in between rather, so I can add another element here to my report. So I'd like to add a table right in between here that just has some raw data. Now you'll notice that as I click a blank area of my report, that it kind of clears out the ribbon for me and just gives me the Report Tools Design tab. When I click on that Design tab, the third group from the left is the Insert group, and I would like to insert a table. So I just simply click the Table button, and just like that, it adds a nice table for me, and I'll just kind of size this in so it fits into my report here. And maybe I also want to give it a style so it matches everything else. So it looks pretty good. Now, as I'm building this new table, I start to look at my table and it says CSS report, which is kind of the overall name of my project. This is the project summary activity. So the start date, the finish date, % complete for the entire project. But I want this table to really match the data in each one of my charts on each side. So in my field list on the right hand side down at the bottom, I can go down to the outline level, and since this is an Olap Cube, I can click that drop down arrow, and maybe I want to say level 1, and that rolls out to show me each independent phase of my project, and maybe do a little bit of resizing here so it's easier to see. Again, now that I've got a table in my report, I have 2 additional contextual tabs. So I've got my design and my layout tab, and if I wanted to do any type of formatting, I could. Maybe my first column, I want that to be bold so it stands out. And this is just like a regular old table in any of the applications in the Microsoft Office family. So I can resize and make changes to the table as I see fit. So the great thing about this new reporting engine and project is that if you feel comfortable creating these elements in the other applications of the Microsoft Office family, then you'll feel comfortable creating them here in project. So let me just resize this table here so that it kind of fits into my space nicely. And I'll drag this guy up a little bit. And it looks like my word wrapping or my row height is going to make it difficult. So I'll just drag my charts down to match it. So just fiddling around, making it look nice. There we go. So I click away, and I'll drag this guy up just a little bit so it looks like it's all one big element here. There we go. So it looks like I've got a title, I've got a chart on each side, I got a table in the middle. Now, I would like to just kind of finalize this by adding a couple of things in the upper left and the right hand side of my chart. So I've got my design tab. Again, I've deselected everything on my report. And on my design tab on the ribbon, back in that same insert group, I've decided maybe I would like to put an image in the upper left and upper right. Maybe I've got a logo or something, I don't know. I've got a couple of options here on my desktop of some things. Maybe I've got a quote about project management that I want to use. Who knows? So I'll just kind of throw this up here real quick and size it. So that's pretty quick and easy. And maybe I want to put, maybe I'll put another image there in the upper right hand corner. Find something project related. There we go. It's kind of big, but gets the job done. And just put this guy into place, maybe do a little bit of resizing. Who knows? So just like that, I've created this nice new report, and I want to now be able to share this. So let me just resize this. So there we go. Maybe that's what I like. Who knows? So here I've got this nice report put together. Now, one of the things that becomes important to me is I want to be able to share this with many people now, but I don't want those people to have to open up my project plan file in order to get to this report. And this is really the portion of creating reports in Microsoft Project that I think makes these new reports so strong. You'll notice that on the Design tab up at the top, in the Report group, I've got this Copy Report button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Copy Report, and I've already opened up Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So say I just wanted to dump this into a quick PowerPoint presentation. I can just go over to PowerPoint, do a quick Control V like I'm pasting, and it just pastes all those elements there. Now, the other thing that's really important to point out is notice that each element has its own sizing handle. So I can resize each element of my report just as if it were an independent object for that, that slide. So if I were to click away, maybe I just want my my charts to be a little bit bigger. Or here, let me do this. I'll do a quick couple of undos here. And so I just select my chart, and I'll drag this in so it snaps into place with my slide. Maybe do the same thing up here for my images, who knows. And I can just quickly size this to my slide, and each element is its own independent object. So in the past, when we would generate these reports, it would just kind of create a JPEG, and when we would resize it, the text would get all funky and wouldn't look right. But now it just kind of copies each one of those as its own independent object or element, which is really nice. I now have that quickly created, and I can dump that into a PowerPoint presentation. Now, in PowerPoint, we don't really assume that the data is going to be live data. We just want to quickly maybe take a snapshot and report on it in PowerPoint. However, what if I wanted to dump that information into Excel? So I'm going to go back over to Project. I'm going to do another copy report here. And when I bring up Excel and do a quick Control V to paste, now the most important thing to notice here is if I click on one of these charts, so if I click on my chart on the right hand side, notice I have those same control buttons that allow me to slice and dice however I would like. So if I wanted to manipulate the data right here inside of Excel, I can do that. And that's a really quick, powerful, easy way to not only get your data out of Project and into Excel, but also make it malleable. Give the users the ability to make some changes to that data. And then finally, if I wanted to do the same thing, but maybe dump it into a Word document. So I'll go back over and copy my report, bring up Microsoft Word, Control V as in Victor to paste, and while it might take a little bit more work to make it fit nicely into Microsoft Word, I can do that and get all of those elements right there into Word. So that is a quick demonstration of how we can generate some really nice, powerful reports inside of Microsoft Project 2013. I hope you've enjoyed this small presentation. My email address is there on the screen. Have a wonderful rest of your day and be successful in your projects. Go forward, do great things.